today and 2 yesterday, and I have another one to talk to tomorrow, to look into the possibility of finding out what happened at the plant. I've told each one of them, let the chips fall where they may. Come in and tell us what happened at the plant. What caused this backup? And who was responsible? Did our employees act in an appropriate manner? Did they respond correctly? Did they report correctly to the proper agencies? And I think all of that is yes, they did. But we have to find out. And so we're gonna hire one of these companies. We should have our first bid in tomorrow. And once that's, it'll take probably a couple of months to get some information out of them. But once that's determined, then we'll know who's the firm.
Councilor,
I would assume that these, the contractor and the engineering firm have liability insurance.
I'm sure they do,
Or
yes.
something like that. Who would determine, would the DES determine that they're responsible?
I think a court of law would be the one that would. Yeah, unless we can find an independent agency. And Kruger is already on board here. They told me that they pay for the study. And so they're pretty sure they're not, I think they're pretty sure they're not the ones culpable. And so we're going to choose the company, and they're going to pay for it.
The plant was being operated under their authority, and you people were just doing what you were told to do to operate.
That's correct.
They were essentially responsible for the day-to-day operation of the sewer system.
I think bottom line is the contractor is the one responsible. That would be Pentacorp. Kruger is, we bought their system, but they become a subcontract of Penta. So that's what involves Penta. And Graves is involved in engineering. And there's some question about certain parts of the engineering that Kruger's question.
Councilor.
Mr. Baines, when you took out the contracts with the original contractor in the engineering and Penco, was there clauses in there with regards to liability and responsibility in the contracts that you wrote?
I really can't honestly answer that.
Okay. Worst case scenario, I imagine it's going to take a long time in the court system to go through this. If we have to pay the 561, how do we do that?
We have about $400,000 in accounts that we can tap into. We're not like the town. If the town runs into a problem where a building blows up or something, they can always go around to different budgets and take certain money out of each budget. We don't have that. All we have is what we have in our sewer department funds. And so we have a few of those that have some flexibility in case we have an emergency. And so we feel we get about 400,000 available to us.
How about the other 161? How about the other 161,000? Because it's 561, you said, to clean up, final cleanup.
You just asked what we had, and I told you what we had. What happens after that, if none of the other players step up, then I deliver the bills to Carol.
Just to comment, I don't think it's come up. There was discussed that the insurance was submitted and it's going to be appealed, so that's one option of potential additional funds. We also have applied for FEMA funds.
Yes, we haven't been denied either.
We have not been denied.
Well, we haven't been accepted.
If that does go forth, we could receive 75% of the cost. But they have to determine it meets certain criteria, and that's what they're in the process of coming and evaluating. So that's a potential, but we haven't been as
you have to reach a certain level in a county, and Merrimack County is $1,600,000, of which $800,000 is already accounted for outside of Hooksett. And so we just about come up with the other 800, and that would meet that standard for FEMA. And it's just if they determine whether we're eligible or not. That's what we're waiting on. I thought we were going to hear yesterday, but we didn't.
Councilor Hampton.
Yeah, I can go.
Okay. One thing that's confusing is it said that this system is the only one in the country. But then you went to see other similar systems, I guess?
Go ahead, Pete.
Yes, there are. It's a company that started off as an oxide columnist, and they have other. This is the disc that we're using, but they do make other discs, which part. Would you like this? And they even make smaller ones, like that. And when we went out to Colorado, they were using something similar to these discs. And they had 4 treatment plants out in Colorado that we visited 4 years ago. And the one, there has been an accident down in Groton, Connecticut that had these discs, and they lost them. But that was, again, a mechanical problem. You know, and I believe that's what it is on us too. It's a piece of equipment failed. And that's what I believe happened to us, was a piece of equipment that failed.
With the piece of equipment, what was that? Piece of equipment?
I believe it was the screens.
Can I ask what that means, the screen? And could you hold that up? There's people in the audience who I think wanted to see the examples you had shown.
These are the one brand that they make, and this is another. This is one that we use.
Those are the ones that make the earrings out of.
I heard that today.
What?
Yeah, you have to keep them in the into the tanks. The idea is they stay in a certain tank, and the bacteria grows on it and breaks down the organic material. For us to expand the treatment plant to get it to more gallonage, we had to go to a type of a system like this. We don't have the land down there to expand without just building a whole new plant. And the whole new plant would cost a lot more than what we already got invested. So this is the method of doing it. And there are, you know, like I said, there's many processes out there that are using this type of technology. We're the first ones to use this technology, though, as far as the discs go. But they've been in Europe for the last 20 years.
Those discs.
These discs right here, they've been used in Europe for 20 years because we asked a question on the lifespan of these plastics. How long do they last before we have to add it and put them in? And I believe the budget committee even asked me this the last time I was with them. And we had contacted the company and they said, we got an operation over in Europe. It's 20 years old. That's as far as we know for the lifespan, is 20 years. And what we believe happened is somehow these discs plug the screen.
So there's a screen, I guess, to keep things from overflowing.
Right. They stay in the tank and no water can go out. Water's still coming in, so now it starts backing up throughout the system.
And the reason we went to this system, rather than use the old system, is that EPA is changing the standards for what you can evacuate into the river for wastewater. And their rules are getting so stringent that you have to find different ways in order to process your wastewater in order to comply with state and federal standards. And so we charged our engineers to go out and find us something that would accommodate us and meet these standards that the EPA is putting out there. And they came up with this annex coldness procedure. And they brought it to us, and a female engineer came in and gave a beautiful presentation. We took her up to the state, and she gave the same presentation up there, and they bought the program, provided they could see it. And so that's when Bruce and several engineers from the state went out west, saw the process in action. They came back. It took them 6 months before they gave us an answer that it's okay to use. And so it's not like we did something willy-nilly. We checked it. And then they came to the plant and they put in a trailer and they simulated this process for 3 months. And so they gave us a pilot program and they said, yes, your your plant is the type of plant that this will work in. And so we thought we did everything proper, and this is where we are today.
I have just a couple of follow-up for you, and then I also would like to speak with Dan. Where'd it go? So we've talked a lot about the discs, but we haven't talked much about, and maybe I don't have this right, the 250,000 gallons of sewage.
Yeah.
I have to assume the EPA is not crazy about that piece of the aspect of it either.
But that 2.25 inch, 2.4 inch rainstorm, anytime you have a rainstorm like that, just the inflow from riverbanks and are going to feed that amount of pollution into the river. Anyway, there was also a release in Lawrence on the same day that no one even mentions. It got a blip in the paper, I think, but that's it. The only difference in their release and our release was that we had discs involved.
See, something else that our 200, we don't want any wastewater going out to the system. But when you go into a larger city, Manchester, Nashua, Lawrence, Haverhill, they have combined sewer systems. That means you have storm drains and sewer in the same line. Their treatment plants are designed to take X amount of millions of gallons. They're designed for 25 million, for example. There could be 100 million coming down the sewer line. The plant will take 25 million. The rest of it goes out to the river, untreated. And that's set up with a rain event, and the EPA knows it, and they've allowed it. They are clamping down on that they are starting to go back to these towns and say, you've got to separate your sewer systems from your storm systems. And you take the city of Manchester with all their canals and brooks and everything else, it's a fortune. You're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars. But that's what EPA is coming back after them. They say, we can't allow that. Because when they look at the river, on a big storm event, it's dilution. You've got so much water going through that river that they weren't concerned about millions of gallons of treated, untreated wastewater going in, because it's just got diluted out. But they have started to change. That's been going on for the last 10 years, and that's why even Hooksett has, you have to permit all your storm drains. In this town, we are totally separated. City of Concord is totally separated. Manchester's not, Nashua's not. And they have to make a decision, do we go down the middle of Main Street and dig up Main Street and replace the storm systems and put new ones in, or what do we do? Or do we build ponds to hold the water until we can, after the rainstorm, then we can treat it? These are the things that a lot of the big communities are looking at, and it's a lot of money, but this is what has to be done.
And I would like to add that when this system is functioning properly, it meets all the standards that EPA requires. It is a good system, provided we can keep the discs in the tank.
Mr. Kudrick, you come to the budget committee. What is the price of each disc?
I don't know what the price is. Everybody's asked that, and I have not got a price. The entire system, the discs and the aeration, was like $1.2 million. But I don't have a price on an individual disc.
I thought you gave us the price for each disc at the budget committee.
No, what I told you, because I don't know what the price is, the price of the entire IFAS system was $1.2 million, which is what Kruger puts out. But as far as the disc, when I get a chance, I'm going to give them a call and find out what they do go for.
In any of the systems that you looked at, is there any screening or anything that would allow the effluent to go out but retain the discs?
If they are using that disc material, they all have screens.
Ours didn't.
Ours did, and that's what plugged up was the screens.
No, what I'm saying, like the tank was to overflow, is there something that prevents the discs from escaping an overflowing tank?
We're trying to find out what caused it. We still don't know what caused the blockage in the screen. We think it's the blockage in the screen. We don't even know it's that. But we assume that there was some sort of a surge and the surge pushed all the discs up against the screen.
Mhm.
It could have been a foot, 2 feet, 3 feet thick, I don't know. That's our guess, and that caused, that didn't allow the flow of
As a
sewage
discharge.
through, and it went over the top.
But that's what I'm getting at. Does any of these systems have a screen around the